Hi, this is Kevin Booth with SCP, and we're here with Tommy Chong at the Taft Federal Corrections Facility, and I hope you enjoy our little show.
It's the same kind of lie that when, years ago in the 50s, they used to have commercials telling how many doctors recommended smoking Lucky Strike cigarettes. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Lucky Strike cigarettes. The Marlboro man used to get on a horse and ride around with looking so cool with his Marlboro cigarettes. In Hollywood today, they got, Sean Penn and the boys, they smoke cigarette after cigarette after cigarette, And you can see the cigarette smokers in the theaters going, I need a cigarette, Tobacco here in the prison is the thing to do here.
It's like a currency?
Oh, it's not only, not so much a currency here. The currency here is onions. but cigarette, yeah, you can't get onions. You're only allowed 1 onion a week. Alice in Wonderland. But cigarettes, it's addictive drugs. They're legal.
Talk about the death rate.
Yeah. Oh, the death rate is enormous. I mean, they show you cancer, and people will be watching the commercials smoking. They have to go get a cigarette. The anti-cigarette smoking ads by William Morris make people want a cigarette. It's subliminal.
How many people die every year from smoking pot?
None.
Can you say that?
No. Yeah, they haven't recorded one death from marijuana. Not one. But mind you, on the other hand, there has been cases where people. There's one case in California. Now I want to be fair, just to show you that I'm not, just talking out on one-sided. But there was a girl in California. She stayed up all night partying. She was drinking, and she smoked a joint, and drove and fell asleep at the wheel and went off the road and killed a worker. And she got 7 years or something like that in jail for it. And that's the only incident that I know of, And so I tell people, hey, if you're stoned, don't drive, It's that simple.
Talk about the specific law that got you in here.
The law?
The specific law.
The specific law.
Yeah.
Well, the law that they arrested me on is a statute that was enacted. It was put on. What they do, they're very sneaky about this. They'll get a popular law, and they're going to pass through Congress, and then they'll attach these riders on it. That I think this law was attached to the Megan law. Where you must inform the sex offender thing. I'm not sure, but it was similar to that, and they attached this Paraphernalia law, which says that you're not allowed to sell anything that looks like it could be used for smoking pot, as determined by a government witness, and that includes alligator clips, roach clips, small hand pipes, glass pipes, bongs. Bamboo, glass, and on and on and on. And the way it's worded is that, in other words, they don't want you smoking pot they don't want you manufacturing or selling over a state line, to make it a federal offense. And what happens, so it's not a state's, they have that law, but they chose not to enforce it.
Well, talk about how they set up that sting operation, and I heard they kind of tricked you and trapped you.
Well, what they
buying a phony buy and Beaver Falls.
Well, yeah, what they did in my case, we had a factory in Gardena, California, and we were making these bongs with my face on it. And my son, who ran the company, wouldn't send. He'd been requested by people in Pennsylvania to ship to them. And these were legitimate stores, and my son had to refuse, say, no, we can't send them to you, because they were warned. My son was warned that Pennsylvania, would prosecute. And so they kept sending back, and the DEA had set up a phony glass company, a head shop.
Do you remember what the name of it was?
Nope. I don't know the name. I saw the tape on it, but I heard the tape where they said, no, we can't send it. We're not supposed to sell it to you. And they said, why? He said, well, you're unrestricted. You know, you're in a state we're not supposed to sell. And so what they did, I think, I got no proof, but again, I can be like the government. I can just say whatever I want to say. And they stuck an agent in my company, salesman, and they made the sale. Because the salesman was a brand new salesman, and he disappeared. So we never saw him again.
How many people did you have working for you?
We had 30 people.
What was the screening process?
Screening?
Yeah, how did you screen your employees?
You know, we weren't paranoid at all, you know, because we were totally legal. We just told them, you know, the salesman, you know, here's the places you don't sell to, don't ship to.
Do you remember who he was?
No.
Talk about the, if you want to, the federal prosecutor, Mary Hefton.
I don't know her. The prosecutor, Mary Beth Buchanan.
Oh, okay.
I never met her. I saw her the last day in court. It was funny, you know, when I was arraigned on May 12th, and she had the assistant prosecutor there to take the arraignment. But my lawyer said, well, this looks bad because they don't usually send someone down from that level to arraign a guy for selling a pipe. You know, usually the local guy does it. But so we kind of knew that it was going to be a big deal. But I never met Mary Beth until the last day. And then after I was sentenced, I was talking to the DEA agent. I said, you know, what happened to this plea agreement, you know, we had? And he said, well, the judge, judge disagreed with it. Is it, you know, not my job, you know, that in my hands. And then she told me, she said, well, you know, they do have halfway houses in your area, you know, you should check out the halfway house. Knowing that, you know, the federal guidelines, you know, disqualifies me from going into a halfway house any sooner than 10%.
Well, tell me how they all said that they had never seen a case like this on a federal level.
My lawyers?
First, I guess.
Yeah, it was, well, no one's ever seen anybody. No, you know, I was the first to, you know, to be prosecuted on a federal level for that type of crime by the head of the Justice Department, you know, Mary Beth Buchanan. But she's on a crusade, you know, with John Ashcroft. You know, they're on a crusade to rid America of undesirable. They're after the porn industry now, and they're after the you know, the pot industry. You know, she was determined. They're determined to wipe the slate clean. You know, potheads.
Do you think, as your arrest, do you think it sent a little chill through Hollywood a little bit?
No, you know, Hollywood. I mean, you got guys like Fraser, you know, who votes for Bush. You know.
Well, but I know a lot of guys like, you know, Joe Rogan, host of Fear Factor's a friend of mine. You know, he's an open pot smoker. In your case, is scary.
Well, no, I mean, it's not just Hollywood. Huh? I mean,
well, not just Hollywood. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but no, the chill. No, you know what it did? I'll tell you what it did. It made me feel like a black guy. You know, I mean, blacks have been telling us for years that, you know, driving while black, that's a crime in California. In Los Angeles, you know, there's a judge, a federal judge, that was pulled out of her car, threw on the pavement, face down, because she was black. And then what did Hollywood do about it? Nothing, you know. So they arrest Tommy Chong, a pothead. What does Hollywood do about it? Nothing.
Well, they talk about how the drug war is racially motivated.
Racially motivated? Yeah, the drug war. I mean, it was the whole idea of making pot illegal was because of the Mexicans in the 30s, during the Depression time. They were coming across the border, and Americans were out of work, and so they started trying to demonize the Hearst paper, tried to demonize the Mexicans, and so he dug around and found out marijuana, because it was a very cheap way for the workers, the field workers and that, to relax after a hard day of slaving in the fields for 56 cents a day. They would light up a joint, and at one time, you know, it was used as medicine, in America, and it was encouraged to grow, during the 40s for rope. And there's a huge hemp industry here. And out of that hemp industry, it was used by the indigenous people as medicine. And black people from Africa, the slaves and that, they knew about it. Here's a herb that grows freely in the fields, and they would pick that and they smoke it. And then Hearst paper, again, wrote these sensational racist articles about, and it was picked up by Ansinger, the first drug czar, and he turned it in. It's on the record where they're saying pot made black jazz musicians horny for white women, which is totally true.
Why do you think they decided to make an example out of you?
They made an example out of me because I'm Chong, of Cheech and Chong. Because I was on the radio, I command a lot of, I got a lot of fans, and I hit at that age group where they want, to join the army, to go over and kill people, and potheads make lousy, for the most part, they make lousy recruits, But there's a lot of good army men that indulge in pot. A lot of killers. There's one in here, that was a ranger, and he smoked pot and smuggled it too. I got some great stories in here.
Talk about what John Ashcroft's operation has done to you and your family.
Well, it disrupted my life. I was going along. I was making close to $250,000 a year just doing stand-up. So that income was taken off my life. I made some good money with the 70s show, that 70s show. That was eliminated. I lost a couple of movies. All in all, I lost, maybe, and then the business itself. I'm down about $5 million, thanks to this war on drugs, and but I'll make it up. But it's not about money for me anymore, and everything that's happened to me has been very positive, and I've got myself realigned spiritually, and I've discovered a lot of qualities about myself and about especially my age. Even though I'll still be doing the Cheech and Chong movies, I'm going to be very active in helping people. Like I know how the proper way to approach kids to keep them from becoming potheads. At least the ones that shouldn't be. There are certain segments of our society that will do whatever they're going to do regardless of what you do. But there's also a big herd of sheep out there that need to be led. And I know the proper way to do it, because I don't think that pot is good for kids. I don't think smoking anything is good for kids, period. And I think kids need a direction, and not only kids, but young adults, like my son, for instance, when he had the pipe company, he was just on the pipe making money, but the minute I got busted, he went back to school, and he's enjoying this vast sea of knowledge and opportunity that he shut away before.
How do you think them doing this to you is going to actually, in the long run, kind of backfire on the government?
Well, they put a writer in jail. I'm a writer, and I remember things. And just like Up in Smoke has been around for 20 years, I imagine this next movie will be around for even longer. And I imagine that the stories that I've gotten in here and my outlook, the sobering stories, the kind of corruption that is going on in society, total corruption, and it is going to be exposed, and I'm going to do my best to make people aware of what the threats really are.
Tell me about the prosecutors convincing your lawyer for you to kind of keep your mouth shut before all this happened, where you could have gone on to more talk shows, been on the cover of a bunch of magazines. Instead, it kept a lid on it, and maybe that wasn't the right thing.
Well, I think what happened, I think that was the difference. The most they could give me was a year. Okay. Had I run my mouth, I would have got a year in prison. But by keeping quiet, they had to give me, the 9 months. I decided, that there's a time and place. Because people don't. If you talk, it's like crying wolf. Like Nader, like Ralph Nader. Everything Nader says is true and right, and all of that. But people get tired of listening to him because it does no good. So I think I do more good with comedy and doing movies where you can let people know what's going on and laugh at it. And me be an example, me taking advantage of my time in here, And I think that says more for me and for what I represent, I represent that culture, that beautiful hippie culture, and it's not. I never started them. I'm just a segment, a tiny segment of them. There's millions of us out there, but we're not violent, And if there's going to be any kind of violence involved, we'll disappear. We fade away. We don't want confrontation.
We don't talk about how the drug war basically puts a lot of non-violent people in jail and allows a lot of violent people.
Well, they do. The drug war. They purposely look for. It's like they recruit non-violent people. That's why this pot thing is perfect. We got some of the best gardens I've ever seen in California, in horticulture there, thanks to the pot growers. There's so many pot growers. They know how to grow plants. Pot's just another plant. We got compost heaps. We got every kind of vegetable. I mean, it's a paradise out there.
Bless you. What do you think the significance was of them locking you up on September 11th?
Well, it was very obvious. September 11th, was the 9/11 date, and the judge was all prepared for a big demonstration. He had me sentenced in this bigger courtroom. He said that his was being under repair, but that turned out to be a lie. They were expecting all sorts of demonstrators and everything else, but no one showed. One guy with a sign, one guy with a cardboard sign, free pot.
Well, what was the comment you made? Something about terrorism that got some officers really mad at you.
No, I said that the sad thing about this whole thing was that about the war in Iraq, where the only weapons of mass destruction they found so far were my bongs.
Okay, tie the Bush administration's drug war back to the 60s and Nixon's drug war.
Wasn't it? The parallels are so similar. They were both used as.
Could you say their names?
Well, President Nixon and President Bush, they're similar in their approach. Well, first of all, we all know what happened to Nixon's history, but we all know that he used the demonstrators to divert attention from his illegal bombing of Cambodia, and that crowded the headlines. Dangerous hippies and blah blah blah, running amok. And so Nixon used that the same way the Bush administration tried to use the war on drugs, to fund the war and to divert attention, media attention, from the Iraqi conflicts. The Iraqi invasion. It's not even a war; it's an invasion. An occupation. Pure and simple.
Your daughter Precious was quoted saying that you guys never used to lock your doors at night, and now you do. Are you more threatened by bad people out there, or the fact that we got a global police state?
Well, we obviously have a police state. I mean, and I don't know. I think I'm really thinking of going back to Canada. Well, if Bush gets reelected, I definitely will be going back to Canada. I think Canada is going to be overflowing if Bush gets reelected.
What about the fact that it's coming out that Kerry and Bush are both like fraternity brothers or cousins?
They're trying to discredit Kerry. They're trying their best to discredit Kerry. You see, the problem is here, folks, is that if Bush doesn't get reelected, there's a lot of people facing indictments There's a lot of legal stuff that's going to be uncovered, and there's a lot of people that are very, very frightened for their empires too, because he dismantled, the conflict of interest. You can have as many TV stations as you want. You can own anything you want, and if they're trying to discredit Senator Kerry, who, in my estimation, should be the next president, simply because he wants a job. One of the things they talked bad about him, they said that he's always wanted to be president. Like that's a bad thing, as opposed to Bush, who never wanted to be president. He just wanted to be a playboy and own a Major League Baseball team, sit in the owner's box and party. And now we got a guy, Senator Kerry, who wants to be president. And as far as him joining that club, you don't hold that against him, man. Just because there's, one nut in that whole apple, that whole barrel. I see Senator Kerry as being the next Bill Clinton, as far as prosperity. And see, the problem with the Bush administration is that they don't listen. They don't listen to their own advisors. They have these high-priced experts there telling them, but they don't want to hear it. They just have their own agenda that they want to accomplish. And what happens with the Republicans, they get in, they know they're only going to be in for one term. And so they rip and tear, and they do everything they can, appoint as many judges and everything else as they can to solidify their hold on anything, keeps anything from being passed. And then they wait 4 or 8 years for the Democrats to build up the surplus and to calm everything in the world, get everything working right again, and then they come in because the American people are lethargic. We're like, like Clinton got to be old news. And we didn't appreciate him.
Chris,
We have 15 minutes left.
15 minutes? Okay, that's fine. Well, what about the fact that, everybody thought Clinton was this great guy, but meanwhile, his drug czar, Barry McCaffrey, that he hired was pretty much a nightmare. And this guy went out and kicked, I know nothing happened to you back then, but Barry McCaffrey, the drug czar under Clinton, was...
Well, he had there's only certain things Clinton could do. Bill Clinton, only certain things that Carter could do. Carter was a pro-pot advocate, but you can't get past the big business. You're up against the pharmaceutical companies, you're up against the beer companies, you're up against the health, the medical profession. You're up against too many people making money. The pharmaceutical companies alone, are scared to death of pot being legal.
Tell me, what all BS drugs would, go out of business if marijuana became legal?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. But I know they're trying like crazy to come up with a decent sleeping pill that's not addictive. And they're trying like crazy to come up with pills to help with chemotherapy and HIV. I mean, these are serious illnesses. Cancer, AIDS. And they still, all this cancer research, they haven't come up with anything that even compares to what marijuana does. See what marijuana does. It makes you hungry. It makes you eat. Makes you want to eat. You get the munchies. And that's what AIDS people, any sick person, a doctor will tell you, this guy's not getting nutrition. He's not getting food, And there's nothing on the market look at the crap they sell on the market now. The fast foods. That stuff's killing you. That'll kill you, all the salt and all that sugar and all that crap, preservatives and all that.
Why won't the drug war ever work?
Because it's illegal. It's immoral. It's illegal. Any war is immoral. War is immoral. War, killing anybody for any reason, is wrong. Even in self-defense.
You said something about Rush Limbaugh. Do you think Rush Limbaugh belongs behind bars? Or?
No, Rush Limbaugh, as far as I'm concerned, he's a victim. He's a victim of this of the drug war, because he got hurt. He hurt his back or whatever pain. He went through an operation. I don't know what his problem was. And what do? They put him on pain pills. And what happened? He got addicted to them. He got addicted to Oxycontin, which is like heroin. Apparently it's harder to get off than heroin. And he got so addicted that he had to go illegal. He had to get 6 different prescriptions from different doctors, which is illegal, which a lot of people are in jail right in here for doing the same thing. But because he's Rush Limbaugh, because he's the voice of the right-wing conservative America, they're keeping him out of jail. Just like Enron, just like all these other people. But Rush personally, I have compassion for him, and I feel sorry for him, and I would like to turn him on to pot. If he needs something to mellow out, smoke a joint, Rush. That's my prescription to you.
What do you want people to know about the drug war and how we could end it?
How we can end the drug war? Just say no. No more drug war. Or move to Canada. I think that's the best. I think that's what we should do. Let's everybody that disagrees with this administration, let's just move to Canada. Let's take our culture up to Canada.
Okay, but tell me how the drug war affects people that don't do drugs.
Well, I would like to take this moment right now to thank the American people for the wonderful 9-month vacation, courtesy of you, the taxpayer, has been granted me, and I'm just one of millions of people that are here because of the drug war, and your taxes are paying for it. They're taking money from schools, taking money from health people, from old people, from special projects, ghetto projects. Money's being diverted into the prisons to keep these prisons, these factories working, to keep that drug war facade going. So, American public, thank you. Thank you very much.
When you get out, how outspoken are you going to be?
Well, you're not going to be able to shut me up once I get out. Once I get on the radio, once I get on, in the movies, because I learned so much in here. I've learned how illegal, the prosecutions and the judges, and there's so much case after case after case. There must be hundreds of cases, just in here alone, and I shudder to think of how many would be out there. This is one of how many prisons are there in America? Thousands of them, and there are more being built.
Well, on that line now, tell me what you think about the privatized prison system.
The privatized? See, I've only been in the privatized prison system, so I have no way of knowing the other way. Actually, the privatized prison system, for me, it's a pretty nice camp. They run a beautiful camp here.
I had a LAPD narcotics officer was telling me that they had a website with numbers that actually changed. We showed at any given time how many inmates were in the privatized prison system, and the stock value fluctuated.
Oh, sure.
Along with those numbers.
Oh, yeah, it's big. The privatized prison business is big. It's a slave labor market. They get it from all ends. It provides employment for depressed rural areas. So you get a place like Taft. If it wasn't for the prison, there would be no industry here. The oil industry is gone, long gone. There's nothing else here. Except maybe the ground squirrel industry. That's it.
Did you ever hear about the Talia case?
The what?
The Talia case. Did you ever hear about it?
Talia?
Yeah, it was a little small town in Texas where some.
Oh yeah, where one rogue narcotic cop just got him, did the whole town in.
Yeah, and he was actually getting kickbacks on a private prison system by how many people.
Well, I didn't know he was getting the kickbacks from.
That's the story. What do you think about that?
Oh no, there's a lot of horror stories. One of my favorite horror stories is the DEA busted 3 illegals. They weren't illegals; they were day workers going to Home Depot they're working every day. You know, Home Depot, standing out in front of Home Depot, waiting for. And so what they did, these DEA agents went down, picked them up, and dressed him up, got clothes for him, everything, give him a bag of coke, and busted him, and put him in jail for, I think they each got 20 years. And they didn't speak English. They didn't know what they were being charged with. They just put it in the system, and they spent a couple of years in jail before, I think, someone wrote a book about them and got them out.
Well, with a few minutes left, openly talk about your feelings of the hypocrisy of the drug war.
Well, the hypocrisy of the drug war, it goes beyond just pure hypocrisy. It goes into criminal. It's criminal. The drug war is criminal. It's taken away all our rights. It's turned America into a police state. It's turned America into a place where they imprison people for no crime. No crimes at all against humanity. There's a blind guy in jail here. There's a 78-year-old man in jail here. There's old people. There's people with health problems. A guy died in jail here from lack of medical attention, and in America, you just sit there and watch the news and eat your Ben and Jerry's ice cream and change the channel when it gets uncomfortable. But the truth is, you're next. Don't sit there and think that it's not going to touch you, because it's going to touch you if it hasn't already. Somebody out there is going to turn you in, because that's the way it's being done now. Because you're going to save their butt, they're going to turn you in. And in order to save your butt, you're going to turn somebody else in, until this prison is just filled with workers. And there's no end in sight, not with this administration. So you better start thinking very seriously about who you're going to vote for this next election, because it could be the difference between you being on the street or being in jail like I am.
Can you give me one more plug where you like address the camera and you could say, I'm Tommy Chong and Cheech and Chong. Right now I'm sitting here and
Okay. Hi, I'm Tommy Chong, Cheech and Chong, and I'm in jail. And I'm due to get out in a few days, and I'll be back, and I'll be appearing somewhere in your local comedy club or movie theater very shortly, so watch for me.
Can you do one more and then say the war on drugs somewhere in there?
Okay. Hi, I'm Tommy Chong, Cheech and Chong, and we're discussing in a very civil manner. We're sitting here in jail discussing the war on drugs, of which I am one of the victims.
Are we out of time?
We're like 4 minutes.
4 minutes?
I'd like to know more about the political prisoner aspect.
Yeah, if you want to go on
about
some
being a
about
political prisoner.
Yeah.
Me being a political prisoner?
Yeah.
Well, you just look at what's happening to Howard Stern. You know, Howard starts speaking out on my behalf, and then next thing you know, he's being attacked by the FCC and a relative of Colin Powell, I believe. His son is the head of FCC. Just funny how these relatives get into power when daddy's in there.
Tell me about what you think about what's happened. I'm sorry to switch the subject. This made me think of something about since we've started the war in Iraq or in Afghanistan. The opium production has skyrocketed since America's taken over.
Oh, there again, you know. I mean, it was like, you know, the Taliban, even though they were, you know, tough on their own people, especially the women, they stopped all. It was the DEA's dream, you would think, that they totally stopped the opium production in Afghanistan. There was no opium, no heroin being grown in Afghanistan. But as soon as the Americans bombed and got rid of the Taliban and installed the Afghani government, magically those it's more production in opium and poppies than ever before. It's got to tell you something.
Tell me about how, like, if you study world history, you could see like the flow of like the fact we're running out of oil and the flow of oil and wars and war on drugs and drug production all kind of follows this trail of Halliburton. And
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you'll have to do that. I'm not really that familiar, but when you think about it, well, look in history, the British. Remember, the Boxer War was about the British forcing China to accept their opium that they grew in Afghanistan and everywhere else. That they had all of China addicted. And the Boxer War was fought because the British wanted to keep that commerce alive. And so this is the white man trying to enslave the Chinese man on opium. And there's a lot of, when you look at the makeup in the prisons, mostly brown, mostly, either Chicanos or blacks, and hippies. Basically, that's it, and old doctors in here. But it's a insidious cycle that we got going here. The war on drugs, It's the only way these guys can get funded. They're making money off it, and that's just legal forfeitures. There's so much money that's being just grabbed. And dope. I've talked to guys in here where they've been arrested, and they've been arrested for in court it comes to like 20 kilos, and the guy said, well, I'm sure I had 100 kilos. And then the judge, the lawyer would say, well, do you want to tell the judge that there was more? You get sentenced to more. What happened to that 80 kilos? War on drugs. They have to fund it somehow.
Tell me again how you could end the war on drugs, just more than just saying no.
To end the war on drugs, well, you have to, first of all, you have to change you have to start enforcing laws against perjury, laws against intimidating witnesses. You got to enforce the laws, the rights of the American people. The rights to do, as long as you don't hurt anybody, the right to pursue the pursuit of happiness. And to start classifying these drugs as what they really are. You don't put marijuana in with heroin. There's no connection, not even in your own literature. In jail here, is there a connection between marijuana and heroin? There is none. There's no gateway. I mean, you can say all you want. A gateway, you want to know what a gateway drug is? Alcohol. Alcohol is the biggest gateway drug there is to anything, to car accidents, to death, to everything, and that's legal. Cigarette smoking leaves more people dead with lung cancer and respiratory diseases than anything. Marijuana, zero. Okay? End the war on drugs, legalize marijuana. Legalize it. Tax it. Do whatever you want to do with it, but don't and open the jails. Let these people free. Let them go home. Let them go home to their farms and to their homes and to their professions and let them have a life, Forget this war on drugs. And you warriors on the war on drugs, all you DEA agents, get a real job. Get a job where you don't bust in people's homes without probable cause, where you don't throw people on the ground and arrest people in wheelchairs and arrest sick people trying to grow pot for other sick people. Leave them alone. Let them live their life. Let them live in America, You want to end the war on drugs? Get a brain.
Tommy Chong, do I have your permission to use this for my video?
You have my permission to use this for your video.
Let me just get myself one camera next to you.
Okay, this is the guy that's been talking to me all this time.
All right, man. That's
Okay.
great.
Am I free to go now? Nope.
Get out. Got your glasses here.
Thanks, man. Austin, Texas, my favorite place.
There you go.
You guys still alive and well, huh?
Thanks.
Okay. Buddy. Yeah. I'll talk to you when you get out. All right. Keep in touch.
Okay.
You doing all right? Okay. We have one more person who's gonna do just not on tape. Yeah, I know. I think she's gonna ask you questions.
Then I gotta do what?